You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's edition of the On Purpose Podcast, where it's our job, it's our mission to show up and inspire, motivate, get you reflecting, thinking, challenging yourself a little bit to get more out of this life, to get more out of this journey, to get more out of your days and your moments. And I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to bring on this week's guest, the author of The Road Unpaved, and to share what the power of determination can do for us, right? Today's guest is Risa August. She is an award-winning author of The Road Unpaved, Border to Border with a Brain Tumor and a Bike. It's a memoir that chronicles her extraordinary journey of cycling across the borders while living with a rare and challenging brain tumor diagnosis. And I'm excited to share her story because not just in the medical world, but I think too many times we allow the stories we tell ourselves or that other people have told us to kind of limit who we can become, what we can do in our lives. And getting to talk with Risa and hear her strength, hear her courage to say, no, wait a second, I can do more. I hope gets all of us challenging that. It gets us all thinking about, man, did we make the most of today? Are we doing what we're supposed to do today that our future selves will be thankful for? So before we get to this interview, do me a favor, get over to your favorite podcast app, get on your social media, go over to YouTube, like, subscribe, share, and help us reach our goal of becoming the most impactful podcast in the world. That means we're reaching more people. We're showing up in more people. We don't know which stories we're going to find them when, but we know that the power of storytelling is that people can find it when they need it most without even knowing they needed it. So do that. Give us a like, subscribe, share wherever you're following. And then let me know what you think of this week's interview with our guest, Risa August. All right, Risa, my newest friend, welcome to the On Purpose Podcast. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Jerrod. I'm so grateful to be here.
I am excited to share your story. When I came across, honestly, people like you are why I do the podcast, right? Like, I don't know that we'd meet anywhere else. I don't know that we'd have a chance to sit down and talk like this, but when I saw your story, I'm like, man, I need to learn from her. I want to know this story, and I want to share it with the people that follow us. And first off, that's only possible because you have the courage to share your story. So I want to commend you for that and thank you for finding the value in your own story so that others can learn from it.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And it's still hard to hear that. I feel like I'm still floundering my way through life and and so, there's that. And there's me just being me.
Mm.
So
And I love it, right? That's exactly why your story is so important. And everybody's story is important because we are floundering. We are all in different stages of process and progress. And there's no, I got to wait till I'm at this point before I can share my story.
yes, I agree.
So before we get going, because I know we're going to talk a lot about some bicycling you did and some physical challenges you faced, I got to warm you up because I can't just have you jump in and pull on a hamstring or something early in the session here. So are you ready for that, Rissa?
Yes, fair enough. All right, I'm
All
ready.
right, here we go. Sunrise or sunset?
Can I say twilight, like just before
Oh,
sunrise? There's something about the anticipation of that new day
mm,
just about to begin, and it just feels like a world of possibilities. And I'm waking up with the birds and the bees and the and the animals and all the noises and sounds, but it's just that moment before, that brief moment before.
that's a great answer. What is a quote that stuck with you or a kind of that you go back to that is in your mind?
Ooh, it's a Lewis Carroll quote from Alice in Wonderland. And I know I'm gonna botch this, but it's something like I can't go back to yesterday because I wasn't the same person that I am today,
Oh, nice.
or I'm not the same person that I am today, or something. So, and that just speaks to our continued evolution. Uh, so,
That's good. Yeah, I think one of the challenges is that we face as people is making sure that our today wasn't the same as yesterday, like taking ownership of challenging our today to be different.
mhm.
Are you a music person?
I love music.
All right. What song is stuck in your head or on repeat right now?
Oh my gosh. Okay. It's because I just went to Memphis. I just did a talk in Memphis. And so I went to Beale Street and
Okay.
Graceland. And so I think it's Mark Cohen.
Walking in Memphis.
Yes.
Oh, such a good song.
It's such a good song, and his voice is so rich and
Yeah.
wonderful.
Did you sing it out loud?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, man, that's such a good sing along song.
It is.
All right. Favorite book?
Gosh.
I didn't say it was going to be an easy warm up. I got to challenge you a little bit.
Um, oh my gosh, I can't limit this, but okay, so I'm looking at my bookshelf and right now, like the Tao of Pooh, and it's by Benjamin Hoff, and it's this it's the playful and simplistic way Pooh, navigated life. And so it's actually a very depthful book and story, and so that's one of my favorites, and that's kind of a place I'm striving to be in right now, is to take life less seriously and to be more playful.
Mm. Yeah, I think we'd find a lot more joy in our days if we were playful like we were when we were kids.
Yes.
All right, one more warm up question for you, Rissa. You get to have dinner with one person. Who are you
Oh,
having dinner with, and what do you want to ask them?
boom, Bob Dylan.
Whoa, you didn't even hesitate. Bob Dylan. What are you asking Bob?
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I know a lot. I've read his book Chronicles, so I know a little bit about the his mindset, but I probably would ask him what drives you.
Hmm,
Yeah, that's what comes to mind.
I love it. I love it. You feeling warmed up, my friend?
I hope so. Yes.
Yeah, we're ready. All right, Rissa, what brought you to my attention was your book, The Road Unpaved, Border to Border with a Brain Tumor and a Bike. Let's talk about what led to that, right? Take me back to the beginning when you find out your diagnosis, and what were the emotions like that walked you through that?
Yes. There was a lot at play here, because there was this, I call it my pre-diagnosis Risa and my post-diagnosis Risa. And um, I'll just paint a little picture of who I was pre-diagnosis. Very rigid, very set in my ways, um, probably narrow-minded, judgmental, um, and a planner. I had my whole
Mm-hmm.
life planned out. So this diagnosis felt like an inconvenience. I I had I had a lot of overachieving to get done. So um and perfectionism.
Right.
I can laugh at it now because it sounds so ridiculous, but yeah, so it was surreal, like, but it was also validating. Um I had 7 years leading up to diagnosis. I noticed changes in my body, and I was a super athlete.
Okay.
I was an Ironman athlete, and anything intense, and obnoxious, mountaineer. And yeah, so I CrossFit, all those things. And so, but I noticed about 7 years prior to diagnosis, there were a lot of changes happening in my body that I couldn't explain, and my doctors kept dismissing me. And so fast forward to the diagnosis, I was like, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
I wish it didn't take so long to get diagnosed, but now it was like, okay, let's just get this over with. Let's like, what do I have to do so I could get back to my life?
And you were diagnosed with a brain tumor, right?
Yeah, so thank you. Yes. So I was diagnosed with a tumor at the base of my brain. It was very large because it had been growing for most likely decades, like 15 to
Wow.
20 years. So, and it came with a life-altering disease, something that essentially destroys your body over time. And it's called acromegaly. And for those of you who um, know Andre the Giant or Tony
Oh
Robbins,
yeah.
but not all acromegaly patients uh, have the same, and it doesn't have the same impact on everyone. So not everyone looks like Andre the Giant
Right.
or Tony Robbins or experiences the same symptoms.
So how old were you when you get this diagnosis?
Um, Early 40s,
Okay.
which is pretty average for people who get diagnosed with this disease. It's usually comes around middle age. And again, I felt like I was in my prime. I'm very youthful and um, young-hearted, so and sometimes very immature too, which is so I was just like, okay, let's just get this over with. But I quickly learned that I was never going to be the same.
So what was the treatment they wanted to offer?
So I was told I had to have surgery, brain surgery. And if they get the entire tumor, I had a good chance of going on to live a pretty normal life. Um, and if they don't get it, then there's medications, there's radiation treatments. But you have to wait 3 months post surgery before you find out because things have to heal up and uh, and hormone levels have to kind of level out. So 3 months later, I found out they did not get the entire tumor, and so I went on to have reluctantly have radiation treatment and also had to pursue medications. So
Okay. So what point did you decide to challenge yourself with cycling border to border?
yeah, so it was about 6 months post surgery, um, when I was still like I was living in these tattered gray sweatpants and um and I still hadn't left the house. I could barely get off the couch.
Mm.
And my husband at the time would say, well, why don't we try, taking the dogs for a walk? Why don't you come with me? And I couldn't get off that couch or out of those tattered gray sweatpants.
What
And no,
was it physical or just mental at that point? 'Cause so you're saying 6 months. So you had to wait 3 months for recovery to get the diagnosis that they hadn't got it all. And then now 3 months later, you're still recovering, staying at home. Was that more physical you couldn't move, or was that restraints you were
yeah,
putting on yourself?
yeah, I just finished radiation treatment and so physically I didn't have any energy, but I also think there was probably some post diagnosis depression
Sure.
or something going on. I'm careful with the word depression. I know it's very real for people, and so I don't want to use that loosely.
Right.
But I feel like there was something going on that I was struggling with. And so I was sitting on that sofa in those tattered gray sweatpants and really said to myself, it was really a pivotal moment. I was like, this is no way to live.
Mm.
And I really felt like if I didn't get off that couch, I would die. If I didn't get out of those sweatpants, I would die. And so that was the moment, that was the actual moment that evening. I didn't even talk to my boss or my husband at the time. Like, no, like I just signed up for an 1,800-mile bike journey down. And I didn't know I had 14 months to figure out how I was going to get off that couch and get to the border, the Canadian US border. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And what was it that drew you to the bicycle race? So you were doing triathlon, so biking was part of your past.
Yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't it was very painful to walk. Because what the acromegaly does is it changes bone and tissues. So it's basically excessive growth hormone being dumped into your body. So bones grow and shift and change, and as well as organs and tissues and all that. And so it's very painful to walk very far. Like I couldn't walk very far. And but I knew I could still bike. Like I knew I had to be able to still bike. Like
Right.
I and so when I was on that sofa in those sweatpants, I it was really a bucket list moment. Like I was like really like 6 months of reflecting on my life and realizing that it was no longer going to be the same. I started looking at all the things I had on this list that I haven't done yet. And I started thinking about like, what have I been waiting for? Like what,
Mm.
why haven't I been doing all the things I wanted to do? And so I always wanted to ride coast to coast, but then I found the Pacific bicycle route, the Pacific Coast bicycle route, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the one.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that you asked yourself, what am I waiting for? Instead of just telling yourself it's too difficult or I can't do things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I wasn't gonna I just didn't want anything or anyone else to dictate how I moved forward in my life. And I had a lot of people coming at me, doctors and friends and family saying, "Oh, doctors saying you shouldn't do that anymore. You shouldn't work out or um go far distances." And there were some complications with my surgery as well, and so I deal with sodium level stuff. So there was just all these people telling me what I should do. And I was like, wait a minute, don't I get to decide that? Isn't
Mm.
that my choice? And so that was the moment my life became my choice.
Yeah. And how empowering was that for you when you put that big goal that maybe seemed hard or impossible to others, but you're like, no, I can make myself get there. How empowering was that to you?
It was extremely empowering because and maybe not right away, but it shifted my whole perspective. So I had 14 months to figure out how I was going to ride 1,800 miles. So for 41 days straight, right? But I could barely get off the couch. So instead of, like I always was this big planner and looking ahead, I now had to start planning more in the moment. Well, what can I do now in this moment? Um, and well, I certainly can't go out and ride 1,800 miles. So what can I do? So literally the first step was, well, I can get out of these damn sweatpants.
Mm.
And that was the first thing. And then that led to I actually started painting. Um, because I needed to really be more present and be in the moment and be more accepting of where I am. And so I started painting, and I don't consider myself an artist, but suddenly I was selling art pieces around the world. and And then I made it to my mailbox. And then I took my dogs for a walk. And then I got on my bike in the basement on the trainer for 5 minutes. So it was like making things attainable, like
Mm.
one step at a time, which was a whole new place for me because I was all about, nope, I'm going to do it all now and I'm going to do it perfectly. And now all of a sudden I was, you know, things changed and I couldn't be that way anymore. I had no choice.
Right.
I had to shift.
Yeah, no, that's good. Tell us about that first cycle ride when you get on the bike and you can go for 5 minutes, but you're thinking like, oh my gosh, in 14 months, I'm riding for 41 straight days.
Sorry, I feel myself a little emotional here.
That's all right.
Yeah, well, I remember videoing being on my bike in the basement with my bike computer and going 5 minutes and how proud I felt.
Yeah.
Of, like it was almost more of not proud of what my body could do, but proud that like I shifted my mindset to get there. Uh,
Yeah, that's amazing. And like you said, I think that's such a powerful point, Rissa, is making things small and attainable instead of just it has to be this big thing right now, which isn't how a lot of our life goes, right? Like it's the moments that are truly important. And the moments we create momentum build us to bigger events. But too many times we get paralyzed by the enormousness of the big thing.
yeah.
So you got that satisfaction. So you go 5 minutes. And then what do you tell yourself? What's going through your head when that one finishes?
Yeah. So I eventually worked my way up to 20 minutes. And that took weeks and weeks. Um, that wasn't an overnight thing either. But I remember I was itching to get outside. I was itching to get some fresh air and be on the road again. And um, so it was a big thing. It may as well have been the 1,800-mile bike ride because I was like prepping for it. And again, I had to really pay attention to sodium levels in my body. And so I was like planning, like, okay, someone would ride with me. And I'm not going to calculate all my fluid intake and make sure I don't go too far from my car in case I can't go very far. Like I was really like prepping big for this. And the first ride out on the road was 8 miles. And I'm smiling big because it it was such a big deal, but I was someone who rode 65 miles for fun, on the weekend or something. So, but the 8 miles was like, it may as well have been 65 miles. Like it was a really big deal to be out there. And then that just propelled me. And I think the next ride was 13 miles. And, and then I worked my way up for months and months and months. And, um, maybe less than a year later, I did my first post-surgery 100 miles or century ride and in Moab, Utah. And that was another powerful moment. So,
What was it that you learned about yourself? What was your takeaway there in the struggle to regain who you wanted to be?
yes. Oh gosh, that's a great question because it really was a battle. It was this internal battle because not just my physical body didn't change. I mean, you put yourself through brain surgery and radiation treatment. My cognition, memory, all that changed as well. Um, and I was extremely detailed person. You know, I had my own wedding and event planning company. I was known for my organizational skills and attention to detail, and I didn't forget anything. I was one of those annoying people that rarely ever made a mistake. I was, yeah, so I, that was my identity for so long. I didn't know how to be anyone else. Um, and so it was a big learning curve, and there was a lot of grief in the letting go of, old parts of yourself and who you always believed yourself to be. But I quickly learned that I was so much more than that. And I was actually way more fun, way more vibrant, way more open, um, way more magical. So,
And
yeah.
when you're saying that, Riss, I'm just the image I had in my head was the caterpillar becoming the butterfly again,
Mhm.
right? And that the caterpillar is only known being a caterpillar. It doesn't even know what beautiful butterfly it's going to become. It just has to trust that process. And I think sometimes that's where we get in our own way as humans. We don't trust our process that we are going to become something beautiful if only we let go of who we've been, if only we embrace the continued growth and moving ourselves forward.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah.
And I think what I've seen a lot is it, and similar to you, is people have to have this life defining event a lot of times before they allow themselves to move beyond what they've already considered themselves.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm one of those people that see it as a gift. Absolutely.
And that's so common. I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed or talked to that are like, no, this cancer, this diagnosis, this trauma was actually the best thing that happened to me because it woke me up
Yeah.
and it lit that fire in you again.
Yes.
Right. I can feel your fire. You got good energy, my friend. I can feel your fire across the country right now. And I love it. Right. Because we all face those moments in our life where we can either pick ourselves up and move forward or just accept things as they are. But what do we become if we don't challenge ourselves?
I I wasn't willing to find that out. You know, I had, to me, I had no choice. I wanted to live.
Mm. And
And
yeah, so you get that first 100 miler under you, and now you know it's possible, right? Now there's are you doubt free at that point? Wait, I can do this ride. It's just a matter of what am I going to do along the ride?
no, I wasn't doubt free at all. There's a difference, doing a long ride in one day, and then you get to go home and, and just recuperate and re-energize and recover. This was, you know, 41 days of riding. I think there were four rest days built in. And but I'd be riding like 10, 11, 12 days in a row, 55 to 75 miles a day. And I was in a body that felt foreign to me. Not only because, my physical strength and ability and endurance changed, but also, um, I was more spacey.
Mm,
I had to deal with very complex medications. Um, I had to worry about my sodium levels. So there was a lot of complexity, and so I had no idea how I would respond to it, and especially with the spaciness, like would I forget? Like would I forget I need to drink or eat, or there was a lot of logistics involved, and I had to coordinate with medical professionals along the way to administer these complicated medications and things. So there was a lot of worry around that and planning, and good thing I was good at planning.
Yeah. Did you have a team with you? Did you take other riders, or did you have a group you were riding with, or?
This was actually a semi-supported tour because I wasn't ready to go solo yet. So there was 10 of us, and a van transported our gear from location to location each day. And but it was up to us, each of us as individuals, to get ourselves there. And so they would carry our, I didn't want to worry about carrying my
Right.
gear and equipment. So, but we were essentially on our own otherwise, with food and cooking and setting up our tents and all that. But it was just one less logistic to
Right.
worry about for me.
So how long? So you're 14 months out for the big ride. You're working your way through. You're hitting your 100 miles. What was the next big milestone for you in that process of recovery? Both, not necessarily just the bike ride, but the next thing you accomplished, where your mind started to believe again that all this was still in front of you.
You mean before the ride?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Before we get to the ride, so we're still working our way to your big ride.
Yes. Well, I mean, I started strength training again in the gym, which changed also significantly. I mean, I went from back squatting 210 to like, I don't know, 45 pounds.
Yeah.
Um, but I noticed that it was just a slow progression of my mindset shifting and being kinder to myself. I mean, I even named my tumor Bubba, but it was a strategy to like, well, how would I talk to myself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I was cursing the heck out of him before. But wait a minute, if I want to heal, shouldn't I be talking to myself nicer,
Mm.
kinder? And um, it the journey continues, so I think that's all still in process. Um, but again, it was about reflecting on my life and, connections a top value. So maybe my next milestone was connecting with and not taking relationships and friendships and all that for granted, and becoming a better human and being more compassionate and being more patient and kinder. And so it was just this beautiful unfolding that continues to unfold.
Yeah, as we all should, right? We should all be unfolding every day because each day is a chance to be a new person for us and grow.
Yes.
And I love what you said there, naming your tumor and giving yourself grace, because you couldn't lift what you used to lift, but whatever you lift today is better for you than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you gave yourself permission to start back there knowing you could progress again and not just staying in comparison. Well, if I can't do what I used to do, I shouldn't do anything, which is such a slippery slope that we can fall into in life.
Yes. Yeah.
So you finally get to the big ride. So talk us through the emotions of 14 months later. Here you are battling back and you're ready to go border to border.
Oh, yeah. I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing here?
uh,
uh um yeah, it presented its challenges. One, I I went into it intending it to be a solo healing journey. So thankfully I've studied a lot about different temperaments with people. But man, you know, being in a group setting, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here with all these idiots, you know, like that old Rissa was popping up of like,
Oh, nice.
you know, and you know, and just feeling annoyed by that. And then um like the challenges of, yeah, like not knowing what to expect and sleeping on the ground. I loved camping, but you know, everything just felt uncomfortable and inconvenient. So I was just like, what did I do?
Yeah. And why do you think the old you crept in at that moment you worked so hard to recreate yourself for?
I think the old Rissa was all about survival. And I think I was defaulting to that survival mode of, okay, I just been telling everyone I'm going to do this. I just got to do it. And it's going to be on my terms. I'm going to do it my way. You know, that rigidity was setting in again. Um, but that soon changed.
Yeah, before we get to the change, I want to hear the change, but I wanted to throw this out to you. Do you think that happened because that is our comfort? Because you know, if you act this certain way, there's a certain result. Like you will get through the race. Like you've done it before. You've done hard things in your life, and if I put up these barriers right now, I know I'll get through it.
Oh
But I
my,
won't. I won't learn as much.
absolutely. I mean, I used to pride myself in compartmentalizing,
Mm,
you know, putting this here when that and putting that there and just, you know, plowing ahead and focusing and yes, yes, and yes.
yeah. So talk to us. When does it change? When does that moment change for you?
It wasn't immediately, but you know, it was, I mean, the first 2 weeks were mostly rain and cold up in the Pacific Northwest. And, but I think it was about a week in and uh, it was another rainy day. But then there was this moment where I just stopped on the side of the road and there was like five people with me. And I remember feeling annoyed about it. And I, you know, and you're in full rain gear and you're just sick of the rain and cold and not knowing if you're going to have a hot shower that night or any kind of warmth. And I pull over and I'm just like, I'm getting a snack. And I was hoping everyone would just keep riding. And but they all stopped and they're like, oh, great, we'll have a snack too. And I'm just like, oh. And for a moment, just the sun started popping out and there was this little patch of blue, just this little patch of blue. And like we all felt warm for a minute. And everyone's being polite. And I just got a little fed up and I said, can we cut the crap already? This has, can we just like start swearing? This has flippin' sucked. And I didn't say flippin'. I didn't say flippin'. I said the F bomb and I just said, let's face it, like the reality is like this isn't like a nice joyful ride in the sunshine and it has effing sucked. And people just like stopped what they were doing and looked at me. And so I was just like, am I allowed to swear? I don't know. Is
Oh
it okay?
yeah, yeah, you're
Okay.
fine. It's a podcast. We're not on
Okay.
TV.
Okay. So I just said, can we just say fuck already? And, and they like just I think we're shocked for a moment and then just all like and then they were and then so then one guy said, okay, well go on, say it. And so I just screamed it. I just said, fuck, this fucking sucks. And everyone starts laughing. Everything just lightens up. And so for the rest of the trip, like I got people swearing. Anytime we had to climb another hill, I'd be like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Why do we? But I did it because it got people laughing. And things started shifting from there. And yeah, I wanted to cut the phony, you know, like it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun riding in the rain and cold day after day, you know. Eventually we did get sunshine, but
Then it was too hot and too sunny.
I don't know that we ever had too hot of days.
All right.
But I think we timed it well. But man, those rainy, cold days sucked.
What do you think about the fact you were just honest, right? In that moment, you're like, honest, let's quit putting up facades because other people maybe expecting other people to do this, right? Other people expect us to say, this is great. No, it's shitty. It's not fun. I'm not having a good time. Like, let's get to it. What do you think that did for others? And what did it do for you seeing others lean into being authentic as well?
Yes, well, gosh, I think it gave them and me permission to just be real. Uh and that was something that was another lesson for me because I don't think for so long I wasn't being authentic. I was living according to other people's um perceptions of me.
Mm.
Oh, Rissa's good at everything. She does everything perfect. She's a super athlete. She's an amazing planner and organizer and all. And so like I took that role on. Like I took that on as that identity. And so this was a lesson in like screw that. It's not like it's not always sunny and warm and wonderful. Like sometimes it sucks and sometimes I forget things and sometimes I'm not good at everything and so, you know, like it was just this permission of like no. No. And sometimes it is sucky and not perfect.
And I love you use the term permission, right? Because you give yourself permission to admit that and to be who you really want to be, who you are. And others see that and they go, wait a second, I can do the same.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Because we're having this moment, right? We're going to ride 41 days and it's going to be, we'll look back on it and enjoy the challenge that we accepted and that we got out of our comfort zone, we pushed ourselves. But it doesn't mean every moment of the journey is going to be joyous.
Right. Exactly. Far from perfect.
Which is our lives.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right? Especially like you said, when we live our life and realize, okay, today was a shitty day. You know what? That's going to make me appreciate that tomorrow's a good day. Right? The rainy day today makes me appreciate the rainbow tonight or the sunshine tomorrow. If I only have sunny days, eventually I start getting mad at my sunny days. Maybe this one wasn't as sunny as the other one, but I forget, I have no perspective that there's sunny days.
Yes. Yes. And that's what the road became that metaphor for life for me is it's not always smooth sailing or downhill.
Mm.
Twists and turns. I mean, we got detoured. Some parts of the road were completely washed out and we had to completely pivot or detour and go in a different direction. So it really became such a big metaphor for me.
What was your most challenging moment on the ride? The one that pushed you the closest to maybe questioning if you could continue on?
Well, I don't want to give too much away because that's in my book.
Give me a teaser.
Okay. I call it my Big Sur moment.
Mm.
Um, but when we were riding on the along the coast, especially if you're familiar with Big Sur, there's a lot of sheer drop-offs,
Mm-hmm.
sheer cliffs that just drop into the ocean, no guardrail, um, hardly any shoulder, and you know, there's RVs whizzing past us. And if you've been on a road bike, sometimes there's like when a big vehicle rides past you, there's like a suction at following it. So you gotta so I'd be riding along the edge and you gotta be sure you're not overcorrecting too far the other way.
Eesh.
And this particular day happened to have gale force winds and some big steep climbs. And oh man, the wind was roaring and howling, and there was this sheer cliff around this sharp curve. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Mm. Yeah. There's those moments in life for sure.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah,
did it.
I made it.
You made it. What was how long ago was that now?
2021.
Okay, so 4 years.
Mhm.
Um, what's the lasting lesson that you take with yourself from that process and the journey?
Yes, I think I thought I would go on this journey and I'd heal my soul and I'd have it all figured out by the end, by the time I got to the Mexican border, the US and Mexican border. Um, and I remember getting to the border and there was this big wall there that it was just it wasn't this climactic feeling, like this wonderful, amazing feeling. Um, and I realized that like, well, it's not all life doesn't tie itself all up in a nice, pretty bow, and you don't just heal and it's done. And like, I still had very hard things ahead of me to face. And, but, but I knew I had this renewed sense of, well, wait a minute, like, I can do it differently now. Um, I have more tools and more knowledge, like more, um, a maybe capacity or capability
Sure.
um, to face those things, and that the road continues.
I
With
think that's so important, right? Like, yeah, because I've done sports where there's a certain goal and a destination. And I've had moments where I get there and I'm like, gosh, this doesn't feel like I thought it would. Like, I thought reaching this, it would feel so much different. And when I get there, I'm almost like, oh, man, like, what do I do tomorrow now? I've reached this,
right,
which is a lot of the story of life as well, right? Life is not a destination, it's journeys, right? And what I remember is the process. And you remember like that big gale force wind and that sheer cliff. That's a much more monumental impact in our lives and part of our story than actually getting to the place I thought I was trying to get to the whole time.
yeah, yeah.
So when did you decide to write the book and share the story of your journey here?
Well, it again, that dusty old bucket list I pulled out 14 months earlier. I always wanted to write a book, and I'd start and stop um but this somehow felt like the story. Like this
Mm,
was the one. This was the time. And like we were talking about, like sometimes it takes a very significant moment in our lives to shift us to um, see things in a new light. And I had a series of really big challenges, but I call those, like I call it rocket fuel. Like that's what propels me
mm.
forward as those challenging lessons and moments. And so yeah, so I took all the recordings and everything I did on my bike journey and I started digging in um and that's and then it took a couple more years to get it published. But
What did you learn about yourself in the process of actually taking the experience and putting it on paper and putting it out to where, and this will live far beyond my actual time. It's out here forever now.
oh gosh, that there was a lot of battles of old Rissa and new Rissa going on. The perfectionist, the trying to write it so that it would please others versus write
Mm.
it in my voice and what I wanted it to say. And fortunately, I hired a wonderful editor to help me really convey the true self, my true self. And it was also extremely nerve-wracking to put that out there. There were things that felt very vulnerable, and I'm actually a private person, so all of a sudden, you know, that might change too. So yeah, that was a love-hate experience.
How's the response been? How long's the book been out, and how's your response been?
The book's been out a little over a year now, and it's been huge. I've won 5 awards. My book is actually in Italy right now at the Bologna Book Festival. It's a really big international, well-known festival, and so that's really cool to see it like on a big banner, and it's being really well received. I'm actually in the revision process of the screenplay for it. So
Oh, that's so amazing. And thank you for facing those fears and those doubts, and being a private person sharing it publicly, because like we talked about before, people are going to need to hear this story, and they can't hear it if we don't share it.
thank you for the platform and the opportunity to do this. So
Oh, I'm amazed. So now I got one last question for you. After everything you've been through, Risa, what does it mean to be living your life with purpose now? What does that mean to you?
yeah, wow. I love this question. There's so much. I don't even know how to articulate it. Um, Living life with purpose for me means intentional connection. It means living my values. It means being authentic and kind and compassionate. It means doing all the things on that big bucket list that's like never ending. I keep adding to it. And I mean, there's so much. Life is, yeah, staying open to possibilities and not limiting myself.
Oh, that's amazing. Rissa, where can our audience follow you? Where can they get the book? Where can they support you on your journeys?
Oh, thank you. Yes, you can learn a heck of a lot about me at risaaugust.com. It's Risa August, just like the month. And yeah, you can learn a lot.
And is the book
For private person.
and where's the book at? On Amazon, online? Where are you buying it
Yeah,
at?
you can find it on Amazon or pretty much just about anywhere. But there's also links on my website where you can find it as well.
Perfect. Rissa, thank you so much for what you're doing, for sharing your story, for being you, and for allowing us to share your story with our community today.
Thank you, Jerrod. I appreciate connecting. Thanks so much.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.